this is kind of, so the message I kind of designed was a little bit more for in person because there's going to be a little bit more interactive. So I'm basically having to completely change the format of this because I didn't want to stand. I didn't want to be here just giving you a script because there's a lot of really great scripts, and the script that I would use is exactly what you would find online from like Curtis or Jason or anyone that uses a script. So I think what I wanted to kind of convey and get a really good sense of mostly was where people are at with upgrades and where they would kind of grade themselves in terms of how well they present an upgrade, comfortable with pitching an upgrade, whether you're working with a customer that has just a couple of pieces versus someone that has a set. Because I think that in some cases you might treat that customer a little different or how you want to present it, because essentially you're looking at either doing a upgrade that would involve almost nearly every knife if they only have a couple pieces versus, hey, we're just going to add a few additional ones. So presenting that is a little bit different. So for example, if uh you know if you have a customer who just has a couple pieces versus maybe a homemaker set, which I think is how a lot of us think about upgrades, maybe, and I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of us think about upgrades as, hey, they have a homemaker, so I'm going to upgrade them to an ultimate. I could be completely wrong about this, but I know it's an easy transition, mainly because we have a pamphlet that kind of outlines how that would work, right? You're getting the block, you get this many pieces, and you get these many table knives, and you get the shears, right? Because you've had the homemaker. And the script for it is kind of designed for that as well. Um, However, upgrades can really come in every shape, form, and size. And when you think about every opportunity you have with a past client that has Cutco, look at the opportunity to upgrade them no matter what they have. Even if they have an ultimate, there's still an opportunity for an upgrade. It's just all the other knives they don't obviously know about, regardless of whether they think they'll use them or not. Because what I found to be true more often than not, when it comes to most things with Cutco, it is when someone thinks or believes that they wouldn't use it, it's because they don't understand how it would be used or how it's useful in conjunction with what they already have, um, and or um, the other thing I think that happens when people think they wouldn't use it, that I feel is 100% true, is they don't have it. When you don't have it, there's no way that you can gauge on how much use you would get out of it or not. So don't let people go down the path of like, oh well, I would never use it. And I go, because if they don't have it, there's just no way to gauge it. Um, but what they're basing on is their current experience, and their current experience might be with 3 or 4 tools, right? And if they only have those 3 or 4 tools, they've gotten by with it because they've had no other choice. Um, so try to come from a place where we have an of understanding of where they're at and what they've been doing and how they've been getting by with the current pieces they have, um, and how most people have done the same. But the reason that we've added on some of these additional pieces are as a result of the folks like them that have had those pieces, um, found that they got more use out of these additional ones once they had them, right? And so other customers have requested these and we've added them on. And it's really important that we get a customer to be open to the idea of adding on additional items, regardless of whether they think they would use them or not, but helping them understand how it might be a little bit more useful, save them time. And again, reminding them that we do eat every single day. And so some and many of these additional pieces will get used more frequently over the years, and some will be used less frequently, obviously. Um, and identifying maybe what some of those are through just simple questions about what their habits are at home. And you know, first of all, I do get everyone to agree that, hey, we eat every day, right? This is something that no matter what, we're going to do for the rest of our lives until we die, right? Do you agree that we eat every single day? Sure. Um, and unless you're fasting or something, right? Maybe you're on a 7-day fast and you're like, I don't eat every day, I'm on a fast. But most people are eating every single day. And as a result, you know, I just think about my own family. There's 4 of us, and there isn't a day that doesn't go by where my wife isn't in the kitchen making something at least once every day, but more often than not, it's twice a day, and in many cases, 3 times a day. And that adds up. That's a lot of time it's being spent in the kitchen. And when I go in there after she's done, there's like a dozen knives out on the counter that she's just grabbing and using because either one's dirty. And so having an abundance of the tools in the kitchen that just allow you to access and use what you want, however you want when you need it, it just makes it super easy than having to always use one knife because that's all you have. Um, it's just like in your garage, you wouldn't go out to anyone's garage, and even if you're not a mechanic, right? That's a professional that's trained to work on cars, you're not going to go out to anyone's garage and find one screwdriver in the entire house, right? It just isn't going to exist. You're going to have a hammer, a wrench, a flathead, a screwdriver, might even have a drill with multiple drill bits. And you know, you could go on and on. Like, we have all these tools because when you need to use a tool, you want to make sure you have it. It just makes the job easier. So understanding that, and just noticing from personal experience, watching my wife go from the person that was like, didn't really care about knives to now tells me when a knife isn't as sharp as she wants it to be is great. Because that means that over a short period of time, her experience, but also her expectation of using Cutco as a product for her made is has benefited her in the kitchen, where she relies on it, likes it, and enjoys it, and now looks forward to to using them so much that now she's talking to, you know, her own family when, you know, they're not using a tool the correct way, or not correct way, but they could be using something better. So it's, you know, we have it, and we have an opportunity, but also an influence, because we're the professionals, and we need to understand that as professionals that, how do I say this? It's not like a customer is wrong about anything about what they might use, but they just don't fully understand, right? They don't have the depth of understanding. It's as Denise and TC were talking earlier, just about, you know, we go through the motions in a demo, we go through the motions at the booth. And when we do that, we can shortchange ourselves. We can also shortchange the customer on the experience of what they're truly going to benefit from by owning the rest of the knife collection. At bare minimum, I think at bare minimum, everyone should have an ultimate, even if it's customized in terms of maybe there's a piece or two that are swapped out. But bare minimum, I mean, having 2 or 3 choppers, it seems almost essential, because having one chopper just clearly, it just isn't it isn't enough, unless maybe you're a single guy and you literally truly do eat out all the time. But aside from that, if you have a family of any size, even if it's just one kid, yeah, you got to have more than one chopper. You've got to have the meat knives. You have to have more than one different size paring knife. You know, we're not using 12 steak knives that all at once, but by the end of the day, 6 or 8 of them have been used. Um, and having that understanding, that in your heart and in your mind, knowing that the best thing for them in the long run is to complete out the set, because they will be by far happier with the experience overall of Cutco than sticking with the few pieces because they don't cook a bunch, or they aren't cookers, or they don't like to cook, or whatever they're conveying to you is the reason for why they only use two pieces and that's all they need. Um, and so again, I try to understand that a customer is only saying that based on their level of experience because they've been that behavior is how they've been dealing with using the knives for however long, right? So we have to, it's almost like breaking a pattern or a thought for them to get open. And I think this is an area to really that everyone has the opportunity to get better at, because once you're able to disrupt that pattern or get a customer to be a little bit open to that portion of listening to or being open to adding on, because some customers just won't be, and that's okay. You can just let them go. You're gonna have once you're able to disrupt that and get them to open up and listen uh and be open to the fact that, hey, maybe there's something for me here to learn or use that I wouldn't even know about, that would make my life a little bit easier. And the biggest way I found to do that, a simple, easy way, is to help customers think about a time that they, before Cutco, like, hey, can you remember back, you've had Cutco for 6, 7 years now, or even if it's a year, do you remember what it was like before you even had Cutco, right? You probably didn't think, did you feel like your knives were bad or whatever it was? Some customers come up and they hate their knives, need new knives. Others are like, oh, they're finally whatever. They don't think about it. So everyone's at a different state, but they understand, like, yeah, I love using Cutco. I have it. It's been great. I can't imagine not having it anymore. At least get them to be at that state and go, great, so glad that you feel that way, or hey, most of our customers feel that way, or most customers say, hey, I couldn't imagine going back to not having Cutco again. That's made such a huge difference in my life. Even just having a few pieces, it's the ones I use all the time. And that's exactly how it works. And that's exactly how you're going to feel about having the rest of these pieces that you just don't know about yet. Or maybe you don't know about how to use them, but that's why we're here, is to help you get the most out of the pieces you do have, as well as the ones that you don't even know about yet or have never had the opportunity to use. Even if you don't think you would never use it, what we found is once you have it and you get an opportunity to use it in your own home, you end up using it quite a bit more, simply because you have it, right? If you don't have it, you can't use it. Wouldn't you agree? Of course, right? But once you have it and you understand how to use it and how it's going to make some of the jobs in your kitchen a little bit easier, you'll get a lot more use out of it as a result. So with that being said, can I show you a few pieces, or can I show you what the upgrade would look like, or can I show you some of those pieces that customers have added on, even if they thought they wouldn't use them? Because once they get them, once they've had them, they've told us how much they benefited from it, right? Just like the ones you've gotten 5 or 6, 7 years ago. Now that you have them, you can imagine not having them, right? So getting a customer in that state is always great. And I just wanted to talk about that because I know for me and for others, I'm sure we've had customers where you're going through it and they're like, oh, I wouldn't use that, or I wouldn't use that. And that can be a little either frustrating or kind of throws you off. And that's okay, because obviously we can swap out or suggest other items. Sometimes they just end up being similar like items. If you're going from like a slicer to a Santoku slicer, it's basically you're looking at something very similar. So it can be a little tricky, but framing things in the right way can make a huge difference when presenting the pieces, presenting the concept, presenting the upgrade, and then of course presenting the price. Um, so that's kind of like the foundation of how I look at upgrades, and how I like to present and show upgrades. I wish I could say I have a system and do it exactly the same every single time, and I really need to get better at doing that, because I will, for some reason, maybe it's just a vibe or a feeling or an energy I get from the customer. Sometimes I'll start with the fan set upgrade, and other times I just go directly into the basic upgrade. And I don't know what makes me decide to do one or the other. I couldn't tell you. Maybe it's the amount of time I feel, or maybe it's, I don't know. But I should probably always start with the fan upgrade. Maybe it's because I just feel like, oh, this is going to be way too many knives and this is going to be a little bit overwhelming. And so it's it's easier to kind of get someone's head wrapped around getting these 9 pieces in a block versus, 30 pieces in 2 blocks because they didn't even have a block in the first place. And so it just might seem like a massive, massive leap for them. But I've had that happen. And so it reminds me that, and it should, and to convey to you guys that you've got to trust the process, and you're just going through a process because you don't know where people are going to land, and you have to give them the opportunity to see the options, right? Otherwise, kind of shortchanging yourself and them as an opportunity. So, um, when it when again, I wanted to be more interactive, so this is this is changing a little bit format wise. So I'll talk a little bit about, I guess, I'll talk a little bit about the fan upgrade. I I I because we don't have straight edge knives, we can't do the complete fan set upgrade because that set includes all the other pieces in straight edges, which we can't do. Luckily, Cutco keeps adding smaller knives on, like a 4-inch edge. So we can add in some additional pieces in there now that wouldn't be. So we have to reformat that thing. But in any case, the fan set upgrade is is really going to meet the need for a couple different customers. One is you're going to have a customer who thinks that they have everything, right? And you're going to be like, oh, I'm so happy and excited to hear that you have everything. Because you're gonna love what I'm gonna show you next, because then you'll really get a chance and opportunity to own everything with Cutco. And they'll Because there's some pieces that you may not be aware of, or there's some items, and Cutco actually made some a special set for customers just like you that had everything, that didn't realize that there were some additional pieces they could benefit from. And so these are what they are, right? And it's basically, whether they have steak knives or table knives, they get, the 12 more. Everyone could use an extra pair of shears, and we're just getting the rest of pairing up. It's so tricky too, because you don't always know what people have. So sometimes when you're using that sheet, it really is going to be helpful to kind of help narrow down sometimes what people do or don't have. But try not to get too specific with it with the fan set upgrade. And the reason for that is because there are so many knives that if you try to go through every single one of them, it it can be a little bit backfiring. So I try to use generalization in terms of, hey, you get the rest of our paring knife set pack, you get the rest of the meat knife pack or barbecue set pack. Um, it's all included in the sets, all the additional sets within a set. You get the additional chopping knife pack. So it kind of packages it up into something where you're getting all these other packages in a set to complete out the collection, versus saying, hey, you get this paring knife and this paring knife and this paring knife and this paring knife and this slicer, right? When you're going through that, it can be a little overwhelming. So I generalize it in terms of like, hey, this package, you get our paring knife package, you get the rest of these items to complete out the collection. By chance, if you happen to have one of these off chance, no problem. We swap it out, we can credit, not a big deal. So don't worry about that too much right now. But ultimately, this is what you get in it, and then you can kind of present it from there. Gauge customers' level of like, oh, that seems really cool. It'd be great to have some of those additional pieces. We love it. And I also present the idea and the concept of, because this comes in extra block. Of course, I show pictures of how people put it in their kitchen, because I go, hey, this doesn't take up any more space than the current set you have right now, if they have the ultimate. We show them how to stack it. We show how to put it on the back and how it fits, takes up the exact same amount of space. I had a customer that took the second block for their fan set and they put it in an outdoor kitchen. I have some customers that have a really large pantry and they put it in there and grab it out for when they need it. I've had customers say, hey, I have one on the island and one on. So you give examples of where people might feel they would put it. So that way they can start visualizing it being in their own kitchen. I have other customers that took out, some of their favorites and put it in the set in the kitchen. The other one went in their RV. I've had some customers use it in these different ways because you have a second block. And I've had other customers just say, hey, I want everything in one place just to grab it when I want it. So it's really up to you, right? But this will fill out the knife collection for you. So that's the fan set. And the one thing I'll tell you guys with that is just like how the upgrade at some point maybe was very uncomfortable when you were first introducing it. It's going to be the same way with the fan set. So you're just going to have to get used to presenting it, showing it, and dropping down on it. Because dropping down from the fan set to just the basic upgrade, it's going to make your upgrades that much easier. And that might kind of be why upgrades for me just seem really simple. Just how many of us look at the homemaker now being like, that's your bare minimum. Like, I don't know how you're getting by with just a homemaker, right? Like, how do you do it? You only have one chopping knife and a trimmer and a spread. Like, you just feel like you need more once you have the ultimate. So it's the same thing. It's just going to make the ultimate that much easier to drop down to or to go back up to, depending on what someone's going to have already currently in their kitchen, whether it's a few pieces or a set. So some really creative ways of doing upgrades with customers. Some of my favorite ways to do it is having a customer finding out if they have family members that have Cutco or not, especially if they have kids, repurposing, recycling that Cutco set that they have at the factory, getting refurbished, using that as a gift, and then just getting a whole new set. That's probably my most favorite way and method to get someone to go to an upgrade. And the reason I do that is, especially if they're open to it, I go, hey, how do you guys feel about having everything new versus some of it 10 years old and the rest of it brand new? And sometimes you can gauge like, oh, no problem. I go, great. And then I go, the reason I ask, can I tell you the reason I ask? And some people are really open to it. Oh, yeah. And I go, well, hey, some customers just, if they have kids, and by the way, if maybe you've engaged this and got some questions, if not, this is a great time to go into it. Or family members, or a second home, or they can put that set in an RV, or they can put that set in an outdoor kitchen, or they can put that set somewhere else. It can be utilized somewhere else potentially, whether as a gift for a friend or family, or somewhere else in the home or second home, right? You're just gonna get everything new in one set, all matching, so you don't have half of it old, half of it new. And if it fits the budget, it's really not that much more, really, to just have the whole set new on your counter, and then we can get their other stuff refurbished and repurposed, right? That's especially if someone's really already open to the upgrade. Maybe they already made a decision to get the upgrade. It's a really easy way to upsell, to just have them get an ultimate set. So I've done that several times, and that's a great way to do an upgrade. And I highly recommend playing with that. That's something that you just have to kind of play with, engage. There's no specific way that that's going to play out. It's mostly going to be if someone's open to it and could see themselves using or repurposing that set for someone else or in another place. And especially I find that sometimes people just, the idea of having older pieces with newer pieces, they like the idea of like the whole set being new and complete, right? So it's something that you can kind of gauge with each customer, but you have to ask them. The other way that is so the fan set, I've done the same thing with the fan set, and I've taken customers' ultimates, and I had a cut. So just not too long ago, I had a customer that had a full ultimate. She's like, oh, I've got all the cookware, Jeremy. I've got all the forks and spoons. I've got all the knives. I've got everything. There's nothing left for me to get. And I go, cool. I understand. That's great. That means I've been doing my job, and you've been a great customer, and you're loyal. And I love that. If I found something for you that would be really, really cool, because you're such a huge fan of Cutco, I know that you're always looking for an opportunity to support me and get some more Cutco in the home. If we could do something really cool that we've never even thought about or talked about before, would you be open to it? And just getting a customer in the state of mind to be open allowed me to say, hey, have we ever talked about doing anything for your kids? And instead of selling, you know, a couple homemakers or something, we essentially got her, it was a really weird way to do it, but we ordered a fan set. So she had two sets. And then we took her old Cutco, we refurbished that and got another block. And she split the set up and she's filling it in. And we got the rest of the pieces, but essentially a fan set for herself. And she took one of the sets to her cabin. So she has one of the sets at home, one of the sets in the cabin, and then the refurbished stuff got split between her two sons. Um, so a different way of doing the family program, but using the fan set. So she got all the new stuff and she got the entire collection and she used it how she wanted. And she dispersed the other stuff between her two sons and then we filled it in, right? Um, and so just having these opportunities to get creative with an upgrade can make it really, really fun if you make it simple and easy for them. Um, I had a customer we did an upgrade for as well, who she bought a set and did an upgrade, and then we did an upgrade for both of her kids because she'd given them Cutco before, and so I just said, hey, we have this great package. Even though, like that's the cool thing with Cutco too, is we can kind of create whatever we want. And so if you're creative in this way of just throwing things together because it's in the best interest of your customer, and at the end of the day, even if the package doesn't exist to show it, but it says, hey, this is what you're going to end up with, show a picture of like, this is the set you're going to end up with. This is the set that kids are going to end up with. We're going to get the rest of the pieces, but this is what they're going to end up with. This is how much it would normally cost for you if you were going to do it. Because this set is a $4,000 set. This set's a $2,000 set. This set's a $3,000 set. So if we were going to do it, it'd be like 8,000, 7,000, right? But today, because of the package that we're going to do for you and get you the rest of the pieces that you're missing, it's only this much. And so with that customer, she got a set for her condo or whatever, but she had taken her set at home, all the knives out of the block. So it was great because she didn't really need the block, but we got the upgrade that had the block because she needed one for her kids who didn't have a block. So we used her old block and the new block and got her the rest of the pieces. So it was just a creative way of figuring out what she wanted and her needs to kind of meet, right? Um, and I can go on about a lot of different examples of upgrades and how they've worked out in different scenarios. I did a service call for, I was thinking about a service call that I did earlier this year at, we did a show earlier this year at Cal, Cal Expo. I can't remember what it was called, Denise, but it was really not a great show for for us this year. I worked with Brian and I was like the slowest. I think I talked to 10 people or something. Anyway, it was a rough show, but I got a handful of leads and I think I did like two or three of them that following week from the event or the very next day. And I left kind of in a hurry that morning to go to my appointments. And for some reason, I just left all my booklets. I had no booklets. All I had was my computer. And I don't really take knives on appointments either. But in any case, I had nothing other than my computer. So I upgraded this customer from a homemaker to an ultimate. And all I had to do was use kind of what TC was talking about. It conveyed with my energy and excitement for the upgrade and how much they'd benefit from the additional pieces that they didn't have and why we had them and why customers requested them. And I also try to not downplay the pieces that they have, but the one thing I try to point out or convey to them is that there are pieces in the set that they have that they don't use. And I try to ask what those pieces might be. Hey, have you found you don't use this one? Or hey, have you found that you don't use, right? Yeah, exactly. That's why we have the boning knife, or that's why we have the 4-inch paring knife, or that's why we have the mini chopper, or that's why we have, because customers requested after owning the set, some of these pieces they didn't really use that whole much, but wanted these other ones because they would and did after having them. in any case, had nothing to show them other than just, how much the set was going to be after the upgrade. And I think that your confidence plays a lot into the customer feeling comfortable with getting the upgrade, right? And anyway, we did a full price upgrade for them. It was great. I had no knives, I had no sheets. All I had was a picture on my computer, showed it to them, and it was great from a service call. And I feel if you guys, this would be a great year to kind of, double down and dig into service calls and getting out in front of customers. Um, I think I think service is really key and important. People like feeling like they're being taken care of and cared for, and there's an opportunity there for us. Even I was just thinking that I could be out in the field a little bit more. I was looking at my work days this year, and I averaged about 7 to 10 days a month of work. And so it's a blessing, right? Because I've been doing this long enough where I can do 7 to 10 days of work and produce enough where I feel comfortable and confident with where I'm at, even though my numbers aren't exactly where I want to be this year, and I'm totally okay with that. But in any case, getting back to upgrades, time wise, I want to make sure that I give anyone opportunity to ask questions about anything specifically around upgrades. If you have any questions at all.
All right, let's open it up for some questions.
Hey Jeremy, thanks for sharing. I did have a quick question. I think you kind of started going into it, but if they have only like three, four, or five pieces, you basically try to sell them off of the upgrade and just buying a set, correct? Or are you still doing the full upgrade at the full retail price?
Yeah, I for someone that only has a few pieces, they're by far going to benefit from the pricing of a set. Like if someone has two or three, I'm like, hey, you could especially if you're kind of going over the pricing and they're open to it, because the pricing is going to be so close that when you present the upgrade from 3 or 4 pieces to an ultimate, to just buying the ultimate all brand new, and it's like, hey, if you have an extra trimmer, or if you have an extra spreader, or you have an extra petite carp, those pieces are not, you don't have enough where it's like I have so much overlap, so it's honestly in their best interest. You could still present the upgrade, but you're going to find that you're already going to be at a $3,000 price point because they only have 2 or 3 pieces, and then trying to break up the set from there and make it work. Yeah, so I generally will still show them the upgrade and what they're going to get in it, and when I get around the pricing and go, hey, let me just show you what a lot of folks do that only have a couple pieces, if you like the idea of this package. And you guys would obviously, just kind of gauge their interest on the package. You can always drop down to, like a custom package upgrade, obviously that's not complete or doesn't have all the pieces in it. But yeah, I would more often than not just go to a set, and the price is just going to be better for them. Anyway, hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Perfect. Real quick, Jeremy, I wanted to ask, I had a specific situation where I tried to get to the upgrade, but I didn't navigate it very well. And I want to see how you would do it. And also if you would go straight to the ultimate fan upgrade or go straight to the just the standard complete set. She came up to the booth and said, hey, I'm looking for what's new. I have everything, just like what we normally hear. And I was telling her about the 6-inch veggie and stuff, and it comes with the other choppers and stuff. And she's like, no, I'm looking for one thing. Where would you go from there?
What did you have in mind?
I was looking just for like whatever's the newest thing you have, because I feel like I have everything, Jeremy. Like, I just really want just one thing, and I like buying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I totally get that. Well, obviously we have a lot of new things. Anything you don't have is going to be new to you, whether it came out this year or 10 years ago, right? It's still going to be new to you. So just with that being said, other than the knives, you have the knives clearly, sounds like, right?
Yeah, I have
Perfect.
the pots too. I've had those for since I was like in high school. I was 17 when I bought them.
Yeah.
And then I also got the flatware about, I want to say like 7, 8 years ago. I have the old ones.
Yeah. Cool. When you got the flatware, did you just buy it like a spoon or a fork at a time, or did you get the whole set?
I got it originally. It was like 5 plate settings. That's all I could afford at the time, to be honest with you, Jeremy. But then later on, I got the rest.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the cookware, did you when you got the cookware, did you get that the set package, or did you buy the pieces individually?
That I remember. I did get it as a set.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the reason I ask is because our set packages are definitely going to be a better deal for you. Even when we have something new, there's always going to be packages for you that are going to work out more for you as a package than individually. But in any case, I'll show you some options here, and whatever works out best for you, whether that's packages or individual, we can totally work out whatever you feel most comfortable with. But if I could save you more on a package, even if you're only looking at one thing today, would you be open to at least looking at it if I could save you more on it?
Yeah, I'm open to it. Let's go ahead and see what you got.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
All right, does anybody else have maybe a specific question or scenario? I love that back and forth right there. I think that's kind of what you had in mind, isn't it, Jeremy? When you were talking about this being more interactive. Um,
Yeah, I kind of wanted to gauge where people are at with upgrades, because upgrades is I don't know what people are doing at the booth. If people are typically just showing some of pieces, right? And like, oh, let me show you some of the new pieces, and then you went from pieces into the upgrade, and then you went back down to pieces. I have no idea. Or if most people are just, hey, I'm going to start people off with the upgrade. Like this is where we're going to start with. Um, so it's kind of more of something I wanted to kind of gauge everyone's level at, so that way we could kind of focus a little bit more on what it would look like to, hey, let's start the conversation with an upgrade versus, yeah, sure, let me show you the couple of pieces here or whatever. But of course you can go from a couple pieces to a set too. That could definitely work, because sometimes people aren't necessarily looking at that. However, uh, just having a few key questions about them and their Cutco journey so far, where they're at, can give you a really clear, quick insight into where you can go with them. And typically, upgrades is just the best place to start, especially if you convey to them that this is what most people have been doing at this event or at this fair or at this show. But people wait all year, and maybe they haven't even heard about it yet. Do they know about the concept? Has anyone shared this with them? Do you know about this? This is for our past customers exclusively, like you, that already have Cutco, that maybe have been adding on a little bit here and there over the years that didn't get a set, and they're always looking to add on something new. Well, this just takes care of it for you. You get all the new stuff in one package.
awesome. I really like the way that you package it, when you're explaining it to them, because it's um reframing somebody's mind, asking them those questions of like how they bought their stuff. I think that's important because it lets you know, A, did they buy it in a package or do they buy stuff kind of piecemeal, a few pieces at a time? Um, because it lets you know where to go from there, letting them know like, hey, like this is good, the package option is going to save them more money. And maybe you have to kind of switch their mindset or their mind frame on all that about how they buy their Cutco. Um, because maybe the whoever sold to them before didn't explain all that, and they thought that was their only option at the time.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is going to become even more common now than ever, because of all the different gifting programs that we have in place, is being aware if someone purchased Cutco or if they were gifted Cutco and maybe they want
Oh
to,
yeah.
because if you have a customer come that, oh yeah, I love this stuff, it's great, had it for a while, whatever it is, but you didn't even realize that they didn't buy it. Because that's not a common question. I feel like, hey, when, so that's why I'll sometimes ask is like, oh, when did you purchase it? How versus how long have you owned it? Oh, when did you purchase that? It's a really
Mhm.
key way to measure how long they've had it and when they got it, right? Or but if they go, oh, I didn't buy it, right? They tell you they got it as a gift. Really good key indicator of, hey, I've got to do a somewhat of a demo with this person. Because if I show them an upgrade for 2 or 3 thousand, they're going to be like, what the fuck? They're just not going to get it. And so you really got to, because I've definitely made the mistake with people before that had got it as a gift and like, oh my God, this is $100. Oh my, yeah, I can't do that. Whatever. They just don't understand the value. They love the product, right? Of course
Yeah.
it was free, but they didn't understand the value side of it. So anyway, that's just something that's really key to do, especially for those folks that did get a couple pieces or something as a gift.
I think that's an excellent point, like you said, with the growth that we've had in the business gift world and, really understanding how they got their Cutco so that, if you need to do a full demo for this person or if the value is already there. Um, so
Yeah, if they've not bought it, even if they have a piece, it doesn't matter. I always feel like you've got to do a demo for those people. You just have to. Yeah, you've
definitely.
got to make sure that they've experienced it, they love it. They just don't realize that it's expensive, right? Unless they've gone and looked at pricing online or something, then maybe have to gauge it. But a lot of times,
Mhm.
I sometimes people just haven't. So, still, anyway, worth to do a demo for them.
Yeah, definitely great points. Anybody else have any questions for Jeremy? All right. Well, thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate your time and the effort you put into your message. And I really hope that people take a lot of what you said to heart, because I know we don't really have an approach to this. Um, and it really depends on the customer that's in front of you, but there's some great key questions that you can focus on, things like that. So I do appreciate you being here and sharing with everybody. And we're looking forward to a great event. So thanks again. I know we're about ready to go to lunch, but I wanted to kind of piggyback one thing after your message. Um, um, James had a service call that he did where he sold 5 sets. So um, I thought it might be a good opportunity for him to share some of his um, how that happened and unfolded because I'm sure people are curious, and I know people asked him in the group meet, but it's just easier to share on this platform than it is to try to type something out. So I think that working with Cutco owners, it's right on the topic of what we're doing right now. So, James, I'm trying to get you spotlighted here. Are you there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Cool. So yeah, so I did a service call, I'd say 3 weeks ago, and it was pretty epic. They already had an Ultimate, and they had bought from me maybe 3 times. But what was amazing is I had shared my goals real quick. I have a lot of money, so I just want to reiterate what Jeremy said and how epic it is to continue to think and believe in upgrades at a high level. And it doesn't matter what they already have. We can take what they have and utilize it, or better yet, we can take what they do really expand upon it and really go from there. So they're very wealthy. They own multiple houses, and what was cool is they had already had an ultimate, but it wasn't. I mean, there was like several pieces that were like not regular pieces, but then they had gotten 4 of the limited edition Homemaker Plus 8s and basically another ultimate. So based on their house, plus the house they're having built right next to the house that we did the service call in is going to be 10,000 square feet. And so I'm going to need to come back and see them in that house too. So really what's interesting is when you get so good at listening to what they need, want, and what they do, basically they were the kind of person that they're going to buy everything else. And so, we had to leave some stuff on the table to have them buy later. But what was amazing is it was almost everything else than they already had in another ultimate. They also got wellness mats, kitchen tools, serving tools, barbecue tools, and I believe gardening tools as well. And so I love the fact that we do have such an assortment of pieces and tools. And as Jeremy said, it can go one way or another, and I love the fact that, okay, get them another block then and gift their old set to multiple kids and split it up, whatever. There's so many ways we can take that, but literally we were sitting down and I knew they wanted to get some stuff, but oh wait, our other house, oh wait, the kids, oh wait, gifts. So go with that, really go with that and take advantage of the limited edition or pieces that are coming out every month this year. So it doesn't matter if we don't like them or we think they're kind of a weird add-on, but it's like take advantage of everything, utilize it and utilize it to your advantage. And you never know. And that's where we come in and we're creative and we're able to literally, oh, okay, let's get you another set. Or let
You froze, James. I don't know if you're still there. You're cutting in and out, James.
we've had some really unique things happen this year for sure. But I was just super excited about, glad to share that anything's possible on a service call or at the booth for sure. So
Well, thank you. I think you sold, what was it, a 7 grand order on that appointment? What
yeah,
was
CPO was over 7 grand. They spent over 10 grand. It was 4 of the limited edition sets and basically an ultimate with some other stuff. But yeah.
Awesome. So never be afraid to ask how many and be dropping seeds, right? About gifts, kids, all that kind of stuff, because you never know what you're going to end up with in that package deal. And plus, you could end up showing them some options that they hadn't thought about before. So I think
Absolutely.
that's awesome. So we're going to go ahead and take our lunch break. Thanks for sharing, James. Let
Yeah.
me stop this recording.